Great. So we're here with Cyriel Kronenburg, who's the VP BD Marketing and Partnerships for Uavionix, and we hear you have a new product that's about a week old.
Yep. Yeah, we released the Multi-Link last week. It's first of its kind. It's effectively an LTE radio that is network agnostic, that combines the ability to ingest other C2 radios into the modem. So it's effectively a link switch where LTE is one of the links, and you can hook up a C-band radio or an ISM radio or a SATCOM radio simultaneously, and it will, independently of the operator, be able to switch the C2 link dynamically.
And why was the company interested in developing this?
We heard from our customers the need for something that that created the ability of having multiple links. A lot of customers are looking at that for their safety case. So the regulator is asking them to demonstrate the performance of their primary link and their secondary link. And the way that was currently being done was a very labor-intensive, a lot of disparate systems.
Manual switching.
Yeah. So we decided to take the creation of the LTE radio upon ourselves, but then integrate that whole switching and effectively make it autonomous.
So the problems it solves: speed, ease of use.
It's speed of ease of use, but it is mainly closing that safety case. It is
obviously important.
Relative to taking seconds to manually switch between an LTE link that you just lost and your backup link. The system does it in milliseconds.
Great.
So you're never losing that C2 link, and that's
you're not blinking, right?
Yep, that's the point.
And again, a little bit more about who would use this. Large enterprise? Or?
Yeah, for us, the customer base is really large enterprise customers. So think oil companies, energy companies, agriculture companies, people that have a regulatory obligation to make sure that their C2 link performs. So the unit works together with our Skyline system, which is effectively the C2 management system that is behind Vantis. And it's just the next step in sort of creating that high reliability ecosystem that we're building for professional drone users.
You know, and I mean, you mentioned this a couple of times. You mentioned safety cases and high risk. I mean, what are the risks that this overcomes?
Well, I think if you look at the current, really the current barriers for scalable, large-scale drone use is detect and avoid a reliable C2 link and the ability to certify a drone system. We're trying to address all of these, and the risk is really the loss of control of a drone. If you look at the current safety cases, they're entirely built around what do you do if you lose your C2 link, and then you have to build your entire safety case on where you're going to land the drone, how are you going to land the drone, but that's not scalable. What you want to do is build a system where you can prevent actually from losing that link, and that's what we're trying to achieve. We never want our drone operators to be in a situation that they have to defend to the regulator that the drone landed in some field somewhere or had to fly back to base. We want to prevent that from ever happening.
So you're almost like you're the first position, not the second position, right?
And it's very similar to sort of how the aviation industry has evolved over time. I mean, in the aviation, if you look at, for instance, GPS, you have something called RAIN, where you can predict when you're going to lose that coverage, and that's what we're trying to do with C2 as well. We're trying to make C2 coverage predictable, and we're managing that in the back end.
And is it agnostic for deployment? Or
yeah, the system is agnostic. Both the LTE modem, we're using an eSIM in there, so and we're using an MVNO structure, so it's agnostic to the telco provider. That so it can be different providers, and then it's also agnostic to the other C2 radios. It could be ISM, C-band, but our ultimate design is very likely going to be a combination of either C-band and LTE or C-band and SATCOM, depending on the use case, and that will vary.
So I've asked this question to other people. Take me out a couple of years and tell me either how the product develops or how the trend of this kind of deployment develops.
So I mean, right now, if you look at almost everybody here, when they're doing flights, they're going to take one of these big trucks out to the field to set up the tripods, to set up the radios. Everything is effectively a one-off build for that flight.
Right.
I think 5 years from now, 10 years from now, the drone is just going to start itself up. It's going to connect to the network, just like you connect your cell phone to the network, and it's going to work. And that is ultimately how the aviation industry works, how cell phones work, and we believe that that's ultimately how the drone industry will evolve as well.
We're still young at the Expo, but if I had one word from the keynote on that sticks in my head, you just use it as automation.
Yep.
That seems to be where people are really going. It seems to be going to be there.
Well, and if you just look at, just take C2 again, right now it works because people bring their radio to a site and they go and fly,
right.
But it's not scalable. Just imagine having, 500 people trying to do a flight in a square mile somewhere. You can't have 500 ground radios rolled out. It's just not going to work.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is effectively create that ecosystem that allows that shared infrastructure to work.
Fantastic. Right.
And that's really what the Ventus concept is about as well.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Well, I'm good. Anything you want to add?
Nope.
Great. Well, thanks for coming over.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you.